Well, hello. This will be part 5 of Dad Tell Me Your Story. And let's take a look at what it says. The teenage years. What teacher, coach, or other mentor who had a significant impact on your life when you were growing up? In the teenage years, I remember my psychology teacher in 9th grade, Gavin Williams. He and I connected. He was a younger guy. I want to say he was in his 30s when he was teaching. So I think by default, when you're a high school kid and you've got a dude in his 30s that's your instructor, you automatically are drawn to that just because he's a younger generation. And he was also my wrestling coach. Super laid back, used to let us hang out in class and engage socially, which for me was great. And psychology just is a field that has always interested me. So he was probably my favorite teacher in high school. I don't know if he's still teaching or where he went now. What did you do after high school? Did you get a job, serve in the military, go to college, or something else? Well, after high school, I said I was not the best student, so I didn't really get accepted into a 4-year college. And college was something that in my family, you went to college. It was kind of expected. I came from a family where I had 3 younger brothers. They were all going to go to college, so I got to go to college too. And I didn't quite get into any 4-year school, so I had to go to a city college. But to get the somewhat similar experience as like going away to college, I ended up first going to Santa Barbara City College. I had an outstanding time. So much fun. I had an apartment that I stayed at with my 2 best friends at the time, Nick and Alex. Nick Creasy, who I'm still friends with to this day, and Alex Hiller, who we kind of grew apart, but still, a good guy. I don't know whatever happened to him. And we were roommates. They shared a room. I had my own room. I paid more rent. And it was at 5-5 Red Rose Lane in Santa Barbara, California. It was like 515, something like that. I'm sure Nick could help you guys figure it out, but it was a dingy apartment in Santa Barbara. We went to the city college there, and I had so much fun. First of all, first time being out, right? You're out of mom and dad's house. You're living on your own. My dad was helping pay for the rent, and tuition was almost nothing. So any job that I had was really just for fun money. And when we moved in, it's your first time being out and doing everything on your own, right? I had to go to the grocery store, so we got a Costco membership. And that was, that was great. Going to Costco, spending a bunch of money that we didn't have, buying stupid things like Top ramen noodles, and I basically lived off turkey sandwiches for lunch, Top ramen noodles for dinner, and I don't even know if I ate breakfast. The city college itself, the campus is right on the ocean. It was gorgeous. When I would go to school, they had a culinary program there, and so you could go eat at the cafeteria, and for like $5 you could get a lunch that was prepared for you by the culinary students. And they had this pasta, just a plain tomato sauce pasta. It was like ziti noodles or penne noodles, those little round tubes with just tomato sauce, nothing special. The best pasta I've ever had in my life. Besides Nick Creasy's mom's pasta, and unfortunately she passed away when we were still in our very early young adult years. I think we were in our 20s when she passed. Besides her pasta, the best pasta I had ever had until I met your mother, and she gave me some of her grandmother's pasta sauce, your guys' great grandmother, which of course is the best pasta sauce in the world. But until then, that pasta was like, I still remember it, right? That's what I remember from my college years was that pasta. So I went to Santa Barbara City College, absolutely performed miserably as far as academics was concerned. I was out on my own. I was partying. I did not party in high school. I didn't drink. I didn't, do drugs. So when I got to college, it was time for Mike to enjoy himself, and I did. I went out to parties. I Nick was dating some chick named Lauren McVeigh, and so I think she went to UCSB. So that was kind of our in to go down to like the 4-year college, Isla Vista, Del Playa, the Party Central areas. Nick became friends with these, I think it was a fraternity house, but it wasn't really a frat. It was just a bunch of dudes that went to the 4-year school and got a house together. I want to say it was 6564 Del Playa Road. But Del Playa, which is a street in Isla Vista, was Party Central. And so I partied all the time. I lived for the party. I lived for being social, going out with friends. So I actually managed to like fail out of city college, which that's a feat. Impressive to do that. I mean, you basically got to show up and you're going to pass those classes. It was just, and again, talked about this earlier, Rick Koenig, Wendy's brother, had gotten us into this World of Warcraft, and that was the year 2005 to 2006. I played like 100 days of game time of that World of Warcraft. So all I did was play video games, go out and party, ate, drank, was merry, hung out with girls and guys, and literally didn't even think twice about school. I had a job that winter at Abercrombie & Fitch doing whatever it was, a brand rep, helping sell clothes and cologne. Abercrombie & Fitch was a big store back then. I remember it was like competition to get this job. There was like 10 of us that applied for like a couple seasonal positions. So they actually had to cut people, and Nick and I got the job, so I got a bunch of discounts on Abercrombie clothes, as was the style at the time, right? Those ripped jeans and tight shirts. I still wear the cologne to this day. Fierce by Abercrombie is my favorite, but we got to do that. I worked out a ton at the gym. I did not eat healthy. I did not treat my body well, and I barely made it to school. So after a year of that and getting like, honestly, it was either a 1.0 or below a 1.0 GPA. My parents were like, nope, we're done. We're not paying $1,500 a month for you to go live in Santa Barbara just for a party, and rightly so. So Wendy had the idea that they would send me to a school called Northeastern University, Northeastern Junior College in Sterling, Colorado. And the thought, I think, was to get me out of the environment in Santa Barbara so I wouldn't party so much, and I would be able to focus on studies. Which of course I didn't. I got to stay in the dorms out there. It was equally a party. It was a bunch of 20-something-year-old kids all crammed together in a dorm. Not much to do in Colorado. That part of Colorado, at least, it was farm town, except for party, drink, play video games, worked out all the time. There, I did a brief stint for going vegetarian. Don't ask me why. Just thought it was cool to do. Lived off of Subway. They had these wraps back in the day. You should get all veggies in their little spicy Chipotle ranch. I lived off of those. I had a meal plan, would eat at the cafeteria. Again, loved the cafeteria. Not much that sticks out in my mind from Sterling. We had a game night in Colorado where we all started at the local Walmart, which was like, there's like 2 roads in this town, and it was like make your way back to the dorms, and you had to go on foot the whole way, several miles, and the staff was trying to catch you, or student workers or something like that. So that was fun. I used to go party in Fort Collins. I made friends with a group of guys, Bo Chavez, a guy named Andrew Wordkemper, I think, Paul Coop. Brady Delves was our RA. God, don't know what happened to him. He was just a party animal. But I would play Guitar Hero. We would go to Fort Collins to party. It's just barn parties, house parties. I mean, it was just, again, a party. So screwed it up for a second time. My parents said, okay, you're not getting the grades. We're not going to pay for you to go to school anymore. You can come home. So after 2 years of basically taking time off after high school and not studying and just socializing and partying, my parents said, you can come back and get a job. So that's what I did. I came back to La Cañada, moved back in with my parents. They were charging me, I think, $500 a month in rent. It could have been $1,000, but if you're talking about rent in Southern California, that was nothing. And I got a job at Glendale College working as a police cadet. I made, $11 an hour, and ended up being $15 an hour towards the end. And it forced me, working 40 hours a week. I signed up at Glendale Community College as a student, and in 2 years I ended up graduating. And I'm telling you, the first 2 years of schooling almost didn't count worth anything. So finally got my act together. I was 20. I now realized I wanted to be a cop, so I had that drive. And that's what it was. Once I accepted what I wanted to be, I was trying to force myself to go into business administration. My dad was big into business. The family was in business. That was always the thought. You're going to go to college, you're going to come join the family business. And I always wanted to be a cop. It just interested me. So finally, when I got a taste of it in 2007, got hired by the PD, I finally found what I wanted to do. Now, I still party, don't get me wrong. So I lived at home, went to Glendale College, and then got my own apartment, 1935 Alpha Road in the city of Glendale. The grossest apartment complex. Awful neighbors, terrible parking. The place was dilapidated. How it wasn't red tagged, I don't know. But it was mine. I paid my rent. I had a job. I went to school as full-time as I could to finish 2 years school, 2 years of schooling in 2 years. So I attended both summer and winter sessions and both fall and spring semesters. So always going to school and then working full-time. And that's what finally did it for me. I got into a very chaotic relationship with a girl named Meg Muller, and we dated on and off for a couple years. And so I had a girlfriend. I had a job full-time. I was getting promoted at that job. I was promoted a couple times until I ran basically that cadet program and was in charge of employees. I had like 20, 25 employees underneath me that I had to deal with scheduling, training, discipline. And so being put in that position forced me to finally grow up. I did want to be successful in school, and in 2009 I graduated Glendale College. And trust me when I say I still partied when I could. Right? You have energy when you're young. So even though I worked 40 hours a week and went to school full time, I still managed to go down. And now, as I'm turning 21, I can go to bars. We used to go to Hollywood. When I was really young, we'd go to Hollywood to the clubs. Couldn't pay me to go there now, but that was what I was interested in. The club we used to go to was called Playhouse. The Avalon, I think it was called the Penthouse, was on the roof of the Avalon. Spending stupid amounts of money to go to these clubs. I used to invite people over to my apartment and we would party beer pong. I was a champ at beer pong. And the running joke with my friends is I had way too many rules. I had like 9 pages of size 12 font of rules. Because when I played beer pong, I took it seriously. And everyone would try to fudge the rules. And I had it pretty down. I went to Santa Barbara, went to Colorado, and I'm back at Glendale College. Been 4 years, I finished. And I went to CSUN. And by the time I went to CSUN, I was early 20s still, but past the age of partying all the time. So I did not get the full experience at CSUN. I did not live on the campus. I traveled, so I had my apartment. I would commute out there. I would go to work at the college full time. I ended up working at GCC for like 4.5 years as a cadet. Made dispatcher for a hot second, then I got picked up by LAPD in May of 2012. And back then, I was young, I was in my early 20s. I would go out to lunch or dinner with my mom once a week. I tried to, because she at that point, the kids had all moved on, went to college. So I would try to go out to dinner with her. We used to go to Buffalo Wild Wings and get the stuffed mushrooms and her buffalo chicken sandwich. And I'd get my wings. There was one in Pasadena, I think it's still there. One in Burbank, and that was kind of my routine for a couple of years, 3 or 4 years. I ended up graduating CSUN with a bachelor's degree in sociology with a focus in criminology, and that's when I worked full time, was just trying to get hired as a cop. And I graduated summer of 2011. By the following spring, I got picked up by LAPD and went to the academy. And the academy at LAPD was very military-like, very militaristic. Made some great friends. Obviously, going through something like that, I used to always say, when we're in the suck, but we're in the suck together, you build a bond. And so that's where I met Jeremy Hunt, who ended up being the best man at my wedding and was my best friend for years. partnered up at LAPD. The reason I'm at DOJ now was because I followed Jeremy over there. He convinced me to come to DOJ. He then went to Texas. Thanks, Jeremy. He works at a police department out there, and he's still trying to convince me to come out there. Jeremy, for what it's worth, I'd leave tomorrow if it was up to me. I absolutely love visiting you in Texas. I love the state, and I'd love to be a cop out there. But life has plans, and sometimes you got to roll with the punches. And so, as it were, I decided to stick around and have a family, have kids, and it was the best decision of my life. So I now work full-time as an agent with the DOJ, and it's afforded me a lifestyle where my wife, your mom, can be home with you full-time, which to me is more important than anything in the world. For you guys to have your mom at home to help raise you, to me that's so important. I came from a family where we were raised by housekeepers and babysitters, and I think developmentally we didn't all turn out the way I think our parents would have wanted, or would have kind of guided us to if they had been the ones at home raising us. But they had their own stuff going on. Anyways, yeah, quick video. I wanted to put a video on the books. I'm driving home. It's been a day. I had to go to the doctor this morning for a cardiac echo stress tests, where I was on this treadmill and they damn near kill me, having me run all day. And then I was running over to the office, and it was just a chaos day at the office, nonstop, just typing for hours. My voice is already going because I've had to do so much talking. Obviously I was on travel the last 2 days up in Sacramento doing a presentation, so I'm playing catch up today. But I did want to try and make a video today because my procedure is coming up next week. And I want to at least get a couple of these recorded before I go in there. Not that anything's going to happen. I'm going to be fine. You know, they make you go to sleep. You wake up in a couple hours, and your mom's going to be there with me the whole time. But hey, just in case, I want you guys to have something to know my story. And at least we've gotten through my high school years and a little bit of college. I am sure this is going to get real into the nitty-gritty of college later. And so we might record another video tomorrow or next week. I know I'm driving to Orange County for another presentation on Monday. I don't know if I explained what I do. I do officer-involved shooting investigations. So I teach at a lot of the homicide schools or officer-involved shooting schools. I do a presentation on what our department does for those officer-involved shootings. And it's something I like doing. I like public speaking. Like I said, I always enjoyed the social aspect. I like being in front of crowds. I like being in front of people. I don't know, maybe I like attention, but I enjoy teaching. I enjoy helping people learn. It's why I was a field training officer for 5 years at LAPD. One of my great passions is helping people learn, which is also why I'm making these videos, kids, because God forbid something does happen to me. You better learn something from your old man. You better remember me and remember that I loved you. And that is always true, and I'll say it every time. You kids, Jonathan, Nikki, Evie, you are the light of my life. You are everything to me. You are the reason I wake up, the reason I work long hours, the reason I stress out on overtime, the reason I travel to all these wild places to teach and do investigations and break myself. It's because I want you guys to have the best life possible. And Casey, my rock, my love, you are the light of my life. You are everything to me. I can only do it with your support. And kids, always remember that your mother and her sacrifice at home is the reason why I was able to be successful at work. And so I'll never, ever be able to repay her for that. I will never, ever be able to express how grateful I am and the gratitude I am for your mom. So I love you all. And as always, I will love you till the day I die. I will love you, and I'll tell you why. You were right for me. You were meant for me. I will love you. What would I do if our love wasn't true? You're all that I need, so believe me when I say I will love you. All right, kids, my wife, my family, I love you guys, and I'll see you next time. Bye.